In today's video, we're doing our third episode of our seasonal series. Today, we're covering the fall time, the upcoming fall time for 2025. We already did the spring and summer, so if you guys want to check those videos out, they're my previous uploads. We're going to be taking a look at the temperatures, precipitation, talking a little bit about the hurricane season, but I do want to make a hurricane season video, so we're not going to go into everything. So let's just dive into it. We're looking at our ENSO, which is short for El Nino Southern Oscillation. Typically, in El Ninos, we see less hurricanes and overall tropical activity. So the top side here is your El Nino. We'll just do a positive for El Nino. Down here is La Nina. Each of these is a model. This is called a spaghetti model chart, basically. The mean average is going to be these two green and red lines there. And I'll draw out the kind of, well, if I can do a straighter one than that. There we go. This is the neutral line. So what we see is that a majority of these models do stay below this, but by far the majority stay within it. So neutral ENSO appears more likely. Also, we have only, I would say, 4 even taking us into El Nino status, which would be above this 0.5 dashed line. So very, very few take us into El Nino status, especially before fall time, but also even as we're approaching into the winter, only 4 out of however many there is here. So a lot of them have us either in neutral or La Nina, where we have probably 5, 6, 7 in La Nina territory here, weak La Nina. Any of these would be more active for a hurricane season and also excellent for the winter time, by the way, which is a little bit of a sneak peek for the next video. So keep that in mind. Likely going to be in neutral or La Nina territory, not El Nino, although there is a couple showing El Nino. So it is up for debate, but probably pretty close to that neutral line, regardless whether it's a weak La Nina, weak El Nino, or literally a neutral ENSO. It's somewhere in there very close to the center here. Now, as we just take a look at the European seasonal model here for the temperatures for the fall time, we can only get August, September, October here because it's the furthest this model goes out. Also, some of these models do have a warm bias, in my opinion, where they just want to show everything warm in the long range. We see that every single year. So keep in mind that we're going to mostly want to look at where the warmest temperatures are, and probably where the least warm temperatures are is where there could be some colder conditions. So we see overall a positive P&A look, which means warm in the west, and typically this is going to force cold into the east. We obviously don't see the blue there, but we can anticipate that the area, according to this model, that has the highest chance of being at least near normal to below normal temperatures would be the east in this situation. Whereas the west has the highest probability to be warm according to this model. The other model that we're going to look at today is the CANSIPS model. This one, a little bit more aggressive with both the above and below normal temperatures, so we get a little bit more of a solid opinion, but also a positive P&A here, which is funny because spring and summer, all of the models have called for a positive P&A, and now the fall time, we're also seeing both models showing a positive P&A. So it seems like that positive P&A driven pattern isn't going anywhere anytime soon if these models are correct. To draw out a hypothetical average jet stream, obviously this is kind of the look here. A ridge along the west there, colder temperatures just pouring into the central and eastern states, but especially eastern Canada for the fall time. Could set up an interesting situation. Typically, colder conditions in these areas also lead to lower pressure, which is going to make it easier for hurricanes and tropical activity overall to move inland, as opposed to getting thrown away by higher pressure. If there's high pressure in the area, typically that's when you'll see them kind of curve away, or, in the Gulf, kind of get suppressed further southward. But when we have the lower pressure with cooler temperatures overall, that's when the storms can be more prevalent to moving on shore. Not every time, but more prevalent overall. Looking at the precipitation, pardon me. Looking at the precipitation, we do see above average precipitation over the northern Gulf, off the southeast coast, even off the mid-Atlantic coast there, which could be indicative of more tropical activity. Also, inland here, more tropical activity bringing precipitation on shore, and overall, these areas are just more above average as far as precipitation, even outside of tropical activity. Also, the west is getting quite a bit more active here. We see some for California getting above average, and then nearby the Rockies, or nearby or above average as far as precipitation. But for the plains, we do see below average, even the Midwest there. So a little drier as we move into the fall is what this European model is calling for, at least. Looking at the CANSIPS model, the second model, this one has disagreed with all the other models as far as precipitation so far every single time. But we do get pretty good agreement here, actually, on this one. The West being above average, the East being above average as well. It is a little bit further to the north, and we do see below average, actually, for the Gulf and Southeast area. So less tropical activity moving into these areas, and actually above average for more like the Southern Caribbean into the Southern Gulf, which typically doesn't bring about huge hurricanes or anything like that. Typically, these areas are a lot less favorable for tropical activity as opposed to these more northern regions. So this begs the question, if we're heading into a neutral ENSO or La Nina, most likely, why are both of these models calling for not the most above average tropical activity, at least? To just recap the European model, I forgot to mention this. We do see above average close to the coast, but look at these areas where we do see storms originate from a lot below average. So we're not seeing this crazy looking hurricane season that you would expect with a neutral or negative ENSO. The reason being is back to the ENSO chart that we looked at the beginning. Both of these models are actually some of the ones showing us in El Nino territory out of the four, which is just totally a coincidence. But both of these models are actually calling for us to move into an El Nino. So that is probably and almost definitely why we are seeing a little bit of less tropical activity than you would expect on these two models. Again, La Nina, more tropical activity. El Nino, La Nina, more tropical activity. I don't think I said that right. El Nino, less tropical activity. And it's pretty consistent with that. That isn't like it usually leans that way type of thing. It is typically very, very cut and dry. You can usually tell just looking at a hurricane season map if we were in El Nino or La Nina. So this is one of the strongest indicators that we have for any seasonal outlook, period, is the tropics as it pertains to the ENSO. Now, let's go ahead and move into what the Climate Prediction Center is calling for, basically NOAA. And when we look at the temperatures, it is quite a bit different. We do see above average in the west, but we also see quite a bit of above average in the east, and maybe arguably more above average here in the east than the west, with the coldest area maybe being these central portions, especially the north central. It's important to note that this outlook is outdated by about 29, 30, 31 days here. I'm recording this video before, so I got confused there for a minute. This video is going to be coming out at a later day than when I'm making it, obviously, as I mentioned. So I think that there's a good chance we see this change. Time will tell, of course, but the models do tend to disagree with this. The precipitation map for the same time frame is pretty unopinionated. We do see below average here in the northern plains, which would correlate with what the models were showing for, like these overall areas being below normal. And the southeast being above is on par with what both of the models were calling for the most part. Again, the CANSIPS one had it more inland a little bit, but when it's close like that, that is overall similar. But this is likely indicating that the National Weather Service thinks that we are in for more tropical activity in this area. It's not a guarantee, but that is an indicator for sure. We're going to be making a hurricane season video in the coming days, so be sure to subscribe. We upload every single day, even when I'm on vacation. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload, so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.